Hello everybody. In this lesson, we are going to learn about nomenclature of polyfunctional compounds. In the previous lesson, we have learned how to name the organic compound with only one functional group. When you have more than one functional group or bifunctional, trifunctional or polyfunctional, how to name the organic compound. Again, we are going to use the same rule, IUPAC name. We are going to use the basic rules and also supplementary rules, but here we are going to have more than one functional group, so we are going to convert one of the functional group as a substituent, and we are going to consider one functional group as the functional group, other functional group we are going to consider as a substituent. If it is a substituent, we are going to consider as a prefix. So that you are going to learn after finishing this particular chapter. So you are going to understand and you should know how to write the name of the polyfunctional organoids. I already explained in the previous lesson that there are 3 basic rules and 5 supplementary rules. Based on that, you are going to give the nomenclature of the organic compound. So out of 3 basic rules, you are going to fix the root word, which is called as the middle name, which is going to give us the total number of carbon atom present in a continuous chain. So you are going to assign the root word based on the longest chain rule, which going to say states that you are going to consider the parent chain, or you are going to consider the maximum number of carbon atom present in a continuous chain, and that chain you are going to consider as the parent chain. The second one, you are going to assign the suffix. You are going to add suffix to the root word. That's the second basic rule, in which you are going to assign the name of the functional group after the root word. Root word is the middle term. After that, you are going to add the functional group. Each functional group will going to have its own suffix term that you are going to add to the root word. And the third rule we are going to consider, that is a prefix. If it is not a functional group, if it is in the given organic compound, we are going to consider that as a substituent, and we are going to write before the root word. These are the 3 basic rules that we are going to consider while naming the organic compound based on IUPAC rules. In order to avoid the confusion, we have 5 supplementary rules which are going to supplement the 3 basic rules. One is called as the longest chain rule. You are going to consider the longest possible continuous chain with a large number of carbon atom as the parent chain, and you are going to consider that number of carbon atom for your root word. The second rule says that when you have more than one substituent present, then you are going to consider the lowest sum rule. You are going to add the locants, and you are going to consider the lowest possible addition of those locant will be considered while naming the organic compound. If you have more than one substituent, if it is repeated, then you are going to use the word di, tri, tetra, etc. And if you have more than one substituent, then you are going to arrange them in an alphabetical order irrespective of their locants. So if you have a more than one substituent and also unsaturation in the functional group, you are going to, if there will be a violation of the longest chain rule, you are going to give the preference to the functional group. Then you are going to consider the unsaturation, then to the substitution. These are the 5 supplementary rules you are going to follow while naming the organic compound having only one functional group. That means you are going to add the locants. Locants are the numbers in which the substituent attached to a carbon, that we are going to call it as a locant or locants. Then you are going to add the substituent, that is prefix. Then you are going to have a root word. Then you are going to have a primary suffix, that is an unsaturation, maybe a double bond, single bond or a triple bond. Then you are going to add the suffix, which is nothing but the functional group. All these things you are going to study in detail in the lesson. Now, so if you have a alcohol which is only one functional group, then you are going to call it as alkenol if it is attached to a alkane. Similarly, aldehyde means you are going to end up with Al. If it is a ketone, you are going to end up with alcohol and you are going to call it as alkanone. Similarly, if it's an acid, oic acid, alkanoic acid. Amines means amine, alkylamine. Nitrile means nitrile. So, alkane, nitrile. Esters means alkyl, OH you are going to end up alkyl, alkyote. Ethers means alkoxy alkane. Amides means alkylamide. Like this, depending upon the different functional group, you are going to have different terminologies. As a suffix, you are going to add to the word. But when you have more than one functional group, if your compound contains a two functional group, so which functional group you are going to consider as the functional group? So there will be a confusion. If you have more than one functional group, the order of priorities they have given. So you are going to consider that order of priority and you are going to consider only one as a primary or the major principal functional group. Other things you are going to consider as a substituent. If it is a substituent, you are going to consider them as prefixes. So that is the change that you are going to make when you have more than one functional group. So for example, if you want to analyze, if you want to analogy it, we have a father. That father has two sons. Those two sons are staying in different places and those sons will become the head of the family. Father, mother, and if they have a kids, that father is the head of the family, is a son for that father. Another son is also there, younger or a elder brother of that person, and he is also head of the family in some other place. We have a father. That father has two kids, two sons. Those two sons are married and they are staying in different places. And the head of the family in two different places are the father only. Here also father only. But when they come to the native place where both the fathers are there, then head of the family will be the tata, or head of the family will be the Ajja, head of the family will be the grandfather. So here all the three are functional group only, but at different levels. When only one kid is there, he is head of the family, other kid is also head of the family in their house. When they all, both of them along with the father, if they come, the grandfather will become the head of the family. He is considered as the functional group, principal functional group. Other two we are going to consider as a substituent. So similarly here also they are going to consider the first one as the principal functional group, other two as a substituent. If it is a substituent, then we are going to use different prefixes for those functional groups. And also if you have same functional group, it is repeated, you are going to use this as a prefix. Di for 2, tri for 3, tetra for 4 is used. Vowel E of the suffix is in. For example, butane 2,3-diol. Here you are going to have two OH group. Both the OH groups, both of them are alcohols in nature. It's a bifunctional compound having two functional group. Both of them are OH group only. That OH group has been repeated twice. If it is a OH group, it's an alcohol. You are going to call it as a OL. So here you are going to add 2,3-diol. Similarly, if you have three OH group, then you are going to call it as 1,2,3-triol. Similarly, butane dione. If you have two ketone group, you are going to call it as a one. Similarly, if you have nitrile, 2-nitrile, then you are going to call it as 1,4-dinitrile. These are also bifunctional, but the functional group has been repeated. Therefore, you are going to use the word prefixes as tri, di, tetra, etc. Similarly, if you have two double bonds, butadiene. Similarly, if you have double bond and a COOH group, the lowest number should be given to the acid. The first preference should be given to the acid and the lowest number. Therefore, we are going to consider buta-2-ene 1,4-dioic acid. Here, these are the instances where the function they are bifunctional or polyfunctional, but they are going to consider functional group. If they have only one functional group, these are the things. If you have more than one functional group, special IUPAC rules has been established in 1993. If three or more same functional groups are present, the prefix carbaldehyde for CHO, carboxylic acid group are used, but not all oic acid. The root word alkane retains the letter E. The three or more same functional groups are present. It must be treated alike. They should not be numbered. Rest of the two carbons are numbered. For example, when you consider this particular example, butane, there are 4 carbon atoms are there. If you have only 2 carbon atom with a COOH group, you can name as we have named in the previous slide. But if you have more than 2 functional group having same functional group, if it is repeated, then you are going to consider that as a substituent, and you are going to consider butane 1,2,4 tricarboxylic acid. Similarly, you are going to consider here 5 OH groups are 4 OH groups are there. Therefore, you are going to consider 4 CHO groups are there, 5 CHO groups are there. Therefore, you are going to consider as pentacarbaldehyde. Without counting the number of the carbon atom, you are going to name them. If the IUPAC nomenclature of the compounds with the 2 or more different functional group, in these cases the numbering is done in such a way that the functional group will get the highest priority. You should get the lowest number, higher priority. The order of the priority of the functional group decides the principal parent child. As already told, the grandfather will be the head of the family for the entire family. Like that, here acid, the order of priority will be acid, acid anhydrides, esters, acid chloride, amides, nitriles, isocyanides, aldehydes, ketones, alcohols, amines, alkenes, alkynes, halo, nitro, alkoxy, alkyl. This is the order of priority. So if you have acid and an ester, acid we are going to, the compound having the 2 functional group, one is an acid, other one is a ester. We are going to consider ester as a substituent, acid as the parent functional group. Similarly, when you have an alcohol and acid, acid is considered as a functional group, alcohol is considered as a substituent. If it is a substituent, the same functional group, if it acts as a functional group, we are going to consider them as suffix. If they are not a functional group, then we are going to consider them as the prefix. So, same alcohol, if it is a functional group, we are going to end up with a suffix OL. If it is not a functional group, then we are going to end up with the prefix hydroxy, but we are going to add these prefixes before the root word. Similarly, aldehyde means formyl, ketones means oxo, acid means carboxy acids, esters means carbonic, amines means amino, amide means carbamyl, nitrile. Like that, you are going to name them prefixes. Now we will take up the examples. 3-hydroxy, 3-methyl, 2-butane, 2-one. So now we have to consider the root word. Here you are going to have 2 functional group. One is a ketonic group, C double bond O group. Other one is a OH group. So you know that from the order of priority, ketone will take the higher priority over the alcohols. Here alcohols are considered as a substituent. If the alcohol is a substituent, then it is going to end up with the word hydroxy. Higher priority is ketone over alcohols. Therefore, you are going to consider alcohols as the prefix, as a substituent. You are going to write that before the root. They are going to consider functional group. If they have only one functional group, these are the things. If you have more than one functional group, special IUPAC rules has been established in 1993. If 3 or more same functional groups are present, the prefix carbaldehyde acid. Similarly, in this example also, you are going to have a ketonic group and also you are going to have a COOH group. COOH group will be considered as a parent functional group, whereas a CO group is considered as the substituent. If it is a substituent keto group, then we are going to use the word axo. Therefore, this will become 3-methyl 2-oxobutanoic acid. Here acid will take priority over the ketone. We have the order of priority. We have to follow that order of priority and we are going to name organic compound. Here also have taken 2 functional group. One is a alcohol which has been repeated twice. Along with that, you are going to have an aldehyde. You know that order of priority will be aldehyde as a functional group, OH group will be as a substituent. So it has been repeated 3 times, therefore 2,3-dihydroxy 4-methyl pentanol. Higher priority should be given to aldehyde or alcohol. Similarly, here we are going to have a OH group and also ketonic group, C double bond O. Again, we have to give the higher priority to the ketone. So, ketone we are going to consider as a functional group, and OH group we are going to consider as a substituent, and we have to give the lowest number to the carbon atom which is going to contain the functional group. Therefore, this will become 2-one, 5 carbon atom. At carbon number 4, we are going to have a OH group which is going to consider as a substituent. Therefore, 4-hydroxy pentane dione. Here we are going to take the priority of ketone over alcohols. So here also have given number which is going to have 2 functional groups. One is ether, other one is OH group. So you try to name this particular compound. Remember, carbon has only 4 bonds. I believe that science of chemistry alone almost proves the existence of intelligent creator. This is said by the Thomas Alva Edison. You are going to use your common sense, you are going to use your presence of mind while naming the organic compound having more than one functional group. Thank you. All the best.